Morning, Josh.
Hey Josh,
Hopefully my question
is
about the
there?
overnight doesn't sound too dumb. I mean, I'm okay if it does, but it just it's starting to blow my mind. This was happening, boy, when was it? I don't remember the last time I remember this happening. It was like, say it was like 2019 in RTY, where RTY is just contracting like hell, and the overnight was just like ripping every night. I'm like, well, maybe I should start trading the overnight. It's getting awful boring during the day session.
I mean, most of the major indexes have been doing that. Like when you put a chart side by side of day gains during RTH versus extended trading hours gains, the extended trading is like significantly higher, particularly in the ES. So, like the ES literally does most of its up move during overnight, to my understanding.
Yeah, well, that's what it's looking like on the charts. There's no question about that.
And
Um,
it's all-time high, which also makes a difference to what happens during the day because you get these climbs at night, and then during the day, it's not as if everybody's like um, quick to bid up. I think is the situation at all-time high from what it looks like, at least.
mm, mm, okay. Well, um, I guess we'll just get started and hopefully today will be an interesting day. So for yesterday, I guess we kind of thought some more things would happen than did. As far as I'm concerned, what largely the day worked out to be balanced. Um, and just to assume you can see my screen here, but what you have
Yeah,
is a day where we had a gap up, and we balanced for basically the entire day, closed the gap, closed it near the high of the day, and that was it. A really abysmally tiny range, 98 ticks or 9.9, nearly 10 points, I guess, equivalent of RTY. So kind of interesting as far as all that goes. My basic plan for the day is I want to observe a couple things. One is that over here we're sitting on top of a 2-day composite which we tested into and rejected uh, yesterday, and I thought I drew this line um, just for fun, but like look at this. Can that be right? I mean, really? Wow. Do people use that? That's incredible. Um, I don't think that has any meaning. But anyways, two-day composite, and then yesterday was completely balanced, and we're inside of that right now, bouncing around with two auctions basically in the overnight, two modes in the overnight. So basic plan is that another balanced day, but in this case we may break higher before the bond close, and then we may see an all-time new high as a result of that. I think that's possible. And the main reason I think that might be possible is just because of this bugle sort of pattern. If we are able to hold this auction here, then this auction right here, then it makes sense to me that we would test down and then we would balance break higher first. The other alternative, I guess, would be is that we leave balance higher straight away. Like what that would look like is we don't even test down here. We just start driving up immediately and break the overnight high. And again, sticking with the pattern here, then that would be out of the ordinary. For I would expect us to get right up to this overnight high and then possibly turn over. So I'm not expecting all-time new high and then like a lot of production after that. This is just the first move that I'm thinking about. The last thing would be is that if we get down to this area here and we just start languishing a little bit, that's not good. That's not going to be great for buyers, I don't think. And so that brings up the third scenario of leaving balance lower. So we're in a highly balanced area, and because we're in this bugle pattern, then it makes sense to me that we would, people would not get in the way for the reasons actually that you just mentioned, Ziggy. They want a better price. Um, and I don't know why my brain thinks of it like this, but I look at that as just like that's buyers playing, taking a gamble here. We're gonna wait for a much deeper price, and I tend to think of it like taking a gamble because if you don't try and hold it up now, then you may not be able to hold it when everybody piles into the bus all the way down to the low because of how much this is done. But that's just probably unhelpful thoughts. But what would that look like is that we get a bunch of balancing down at the low, and then we see an impulse out of developing value with wave imbalances and no absorption. I think the no absorption is super key because it would tell me that there aren't any high time frame buyers that are trying to buy in this area, and they're literally waiting for a much better price, which should be down in this range here, I would think, at the bottom of this overall composite level right there like that. So that's the basic plan and idea I have for today. Now, one other note that I'm going to bring up is that today, unlike every other day this week, I have got a meeting at 10:30, and then I don't know, an afternoon meeting after that, like 3:30 or something. I've got a couple of meetings today, and the thing that will be key for me, given the number of days we've balanced in a row, is that I'm going to want to see strength moves basically before the Globex close. And if we don't see that, if we see like one move and then like what's been happening, and I'd ask for some comment on this, you'd see kind of a walk up, fast push down, really the market just slows to a crawl. And then it decides what it's going to do, starts to walk back up, fast move down, and you're going, okay, like, does everybody just one move and then everybody goes to sleep? Um, if I see that, I'm probably not going to participate. I'm just going to say, like, look, I'm going to wait till Globex close or the lunchtime hour once the lunchtime rush comes back to see if I can catch some volatility for all of this, because it doesn't to me make sense to try and invite myself to take trades when the participants just aren't there, especially in this balance area. Higher time, if we break this area up here, quickly, and we see that participation accelerate, then yeah, for sure, want to grab onto that. But other than that, that's all I'm looking at.
Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind is just trying to gauge, I guess, what type of day it's going to be based on what we know right now and what we're going to know during the initial balance. Like yesterday, um, it's like when I see what happens yesterday, at least in R2Y, like I know I have to be hands off for a little bit and I just have to wait because we had like a bit of a slow grind down, and then we have like this very strong impulse to the upside, make a new high, and then we literally just instantly take it right back, like right back down and make a new low, like in one shot. And when that happens, like that's sort of like, oh, look, buyers are stepping up. Look what they're doing. And then all of a sudden, you have a very hard impulse to the downside, making a new low. I mean, that just changes. Like that's to me, that's a problem. At least to be hitting the long side. So I think what would be good today is maybe looking for different clues that if we can start to see one of these either aggressive buyers or sellers stepping up, and we have seen it in small degrees, but we're not like yesterday, if we had grinded down slowly and then impulsed up and had like a normal pullback, even though the theme for the rest of the day was upside, like we did make new highs and it was an upside, it was up day. Um, the confidence is a lot harder to have there when you do something like just shoot right back down and make a new low right after a high. So I think we should be on watch for something like exactly kind of what you're saying. Like, let's see something if it's to the upside, then impulsive up activity and with maybe a little bit more of a shallow down move. Or if we're going down, I don't think it'd be a bad thing at all to see something like the buy absorption. Price starts to slow down. We get high volume in a smaller range. Um, and then lifting away from that area. I think those are like the clues we need to look for that this could be a day to move away. I'm not sure what Nick might have in mind, but I think things like overnight volume. I don't know how that looks in the YM. I definitely think it helps when we have a little bit of higher volume overnight to potentially have some more positions that are kind of, I guess, initiated or trapped. But we'll have to see. There's no reason it couldn't be another kind of balancy type day in my eyes. I guess any day could be, but we just let's look for clues at someone taking control and somewhat holding it.
The one thing I
Yeah.
saw that kept me off of and Nick, we'll just jump to you in 10 seconds here. that kept me off of the pullback continuations long was that every time you get to the top of that run, first of all, it happened fast, and I'm usually suspicious of that when we've seen a lot of bouncing action. But second is that once you get to that pullback, I kept seeing neutral delta, and I'm going, well, this doesn't make sense. I mean, you just got the freight train running at you, and suddenly everybody wants to step up. That doesn't make sense for continuation. So anyway.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying. I just wanted to point out that, we basically had this is the balance that I've been talking about on the daily time frame. And then we yesterday are starting to break above it. And we did it with the narrowest ranging day that we've had in, you can see it right here, quite some time, like maybe back in here, or maybe back in here, you can see.
Wow.
So to me, what's that?
I said, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, so the only thing I point about that is that I think what's happening here, and to Ziggy's point and to what we said a couple of days ago, is that it's very hard for day time frame traders to stay long, even though the market's moving up. And it's happened, it happened here where we got a big flush. It happened here with big pullback in range. It happened here with fake out moves, and yesterday also with all of the V bottoms that were put into place along the way. So I think what's happening is that on the daytime frame, it's difficult to stay long, and you have to be two-sided, and you have to trade on a very short-term level. But on the bigger picture, this keeps pushing higher. And so today, I have, for me, this is like a breakout attempt. Okay. And a breakout attempt always means, can they hold it or can they not hold it? And so I've noticed that a couple of things that I'm going to be looking for is, below us we have this LVN that's built in right in here. And that LVN to me is a great level for me to go over unders as far as being bullish. And then there's also a developing point of control up here at 12. So if you kind of carry that forward and you look in here, and this is where this balance is kind of holding. So that's my secondary look on short-term time frame as far as, what my expectations are. So we do have triple witch today, or quad witch, I guess, but I found that really that's only in the opening. So the opening might be a little bit more noisy than usual, but after that, I don't expect much. So my first clue is the overnight mid and this point of control. I mean, if we come down here and we slice it hard and then defend it, my targets are going to be this century figure, 2,700. If we happen to break down below 2,700, and turn below, let's say 99s, take out this low, I'm going to turn short term on the bear side and look for moves that go like this and come down to this point of control before a bounce kind of a thing. So I'm going to be looking to get on board something on the short side there and potentially on a rebound here, depending on how it looks and what happens and et cetera. But that's the bear case. On the bull side, which is really, I think, what we have to lean on, would be more of a market that kind of does, it can do this, but it's got to do this, like it did here and here. These V bottoms, liquidity traps, I think is what's happening here is the longs are getting squeezed out. You try to get long off of this breakout area, and then it just comes down, stops you out, and comes right back up. You try to get long maybe off of these lows, even here, and you get squeezed again before it comes right back up. So I think we have to be on guard for these V bottoms, at least in ES, that are going to do this and potentially take out the 23s and come back in, something like that. Now, the other thing that I'm well aware of, and so are you guys, is that this is probably the last week and the last day of anything big going on in the marketplace unless some news comes out or some event happens or something goes on. So I'm also aware of the fact that I'm taking less trades. I mean, I'm not doing a lot in this market because there's really not a lot to do. When you have a narrow ranging day like yesterday, it's difficult to get on board a trade at all. Last point is, there's a theory that these narrow ranging days end up doing some sort of a breakout. So I'm also on guard for that. And if we were to get, breakouts above this area in a thin market, I'd expect it could go. You could take out these 23s, and my range max is up here at 35, which is 20 points higher than where we are right now. So this was the smallest ranging days in the last 10, and this volume shifted up here yesterday. So if I just want to just show you what that looks like, if you take out what happened yesterday, and you're looking at the profile on the right, you can just see what happened yesterday. I mean, this coiling basically put all the volume way up at the top of this micro composite. And because of that, this could be the fuel for it to break out. And that's my primary scenario, is higher prices, difficult to stay on board longs. That's how I'm going to look at today.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah, it's quad witching today as well. And then like we're not. I don't expect the trading to be too heavy. Like for the rest of the month, I think we'll have to look forward to more towards January.
Yeah, I agree.
The boys are away.
Doing a lot of research right now, which is fun.
Good. Yeah.
And there was an article I'll post later from Zero Hedge that came out probably, I don't know, 4 months ago. And what it did was it compared the directional movement of the overnight market to the directional movement of the regular session market. And what you're thinking you're experiencing is hard evidence that's true. The overnight markets move directionally much more than the two-sided, fighting, very volatile and also high volume sessions of the RTH. I think it's because you got both sides playing, and both sides are there to move the market. Where in the overnight session, it's very thin and it's easy to move.
Yeah. And I mean, the algo activity is definitely different. Like I think it's like if you just start doing certain activities during regular trading hours, algos could pick up on that and really do things. And I don't think those same algos are even on at that time. Obviously there are algos at that time, but I think it's just totally different players, different liquidity. And I think it's the same. It's probably the same chart that I'm thinking of where you see how much higher it is overnight compared. All we need to do is we buy the close and we sell the open.
Yeah, or the reverse. I mean, the same thing is true on downtrends as well. I mean, you'll be waiting for some sort of a down move in the RTH session, and it happens overnight. You're short, you're positioned perfectly, and it just keeps taking your stop. It just So
yeah, I think if it continues through next week, I'm definitely gonna start looking at the overnight and just maybe I start trading it.
There's something really interesting, and I've seen somebody on Twitter comment this, but I 100% noticed it before seeing it because I have charts that show, like my chart highlights the Asian session and then the London session, and I would see in RTY like it seemed like it was 8 times out of 10 or something. Like it's not, but it's like pretty damn close. Where at 3 a.m. Eastern time, it's like something's buying. Like I cannot tell you. Like I bet you ES is the same thing. Look at the ES at 3 a.m. in the last month and tell me how many times out of 10 that something's buying right around 3 o'clock and it like lifts legit. Like it's wild. Like it's I've seen somebody on Twitter comment like, what is going on? Like I don't understand. Like 3 o'clock, the volume bar will be higher than all the other overnight or not all of it, but it will be a higher volume bar. And generally around 3, you'll see these like up moves. Like it's robotic. It's crazy. Check it out.
Isn't that about the time where Europe opens?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much the
Probably.
London Open.
Yeah. And the other thing I noticed, there's an algo that you can see on Bookmap that does something every hour right at the bell. I don't know why, but you can see their liquidity come in and it hits it. I mean, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, all day.
Hmm.
I don't
Right.
know. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's the wild stuff's wild, man. We have like really like we have no idea like the type of participants that are why they're doing those things. It's really interesting. Love it.
Yep.
All right, guys.
Great, dude.
Good luck today.